Hello, and welcome back to Youth Code Jam's online Bits and Bytes lessons. Today we're continuing our digital literacy series on basic computer skills. Our focus today will be on how to use email and what a proper email to send looks like. It's, I admit, not the most exciting topic. However, as we continue with virtual learning and just as children get older, these are very important skills to have, and they're not being really taught how to use them. So we're going to go ahead and do a little intro today. And if you were at our live session, you got to play a little game with us. So let's go ahead and continue with our slide. So what is an email? An official definition would look something like this. It's a software that can be run on a computer, tablet, phone, or any kind of device that's connected to the internet really at this point, that allows you to send messages over the internet. So you can normally send messages to one person or a lot of people, but it's very helpful for, you can also send them files. So a lot of times my classmates and I will use it to send projects back and forth to each other that we're working on, if it's not something that we can host in a drive. So not all projects are. There's a lot of programming stuff that maybe you can share it via the drive, but it can't live there and be worked on. So you have to be able to learn how to zip a file, for one thing, and then be able to send it on via your email. So what else can you send by email? Well, there's lots of things. You can just send a basic message with text or words. You can attach photos or embed photos into the message. You can attach or embed videos, or link to a video that's on YouTube if you want someone to watch something. You can attach documents and files, and sometimes, so when we say a file, we're meaning like a file folder that might contain a lot of documents. So it could contain images, it could contain video files, or just regular Word documents. So there's a lot that you can put in there. Sometimes those files are so large you have to zip them or compress them so that they can be sent online, because most emails have a size limit of what you can attach. And then if you can think of other things, there's lots of stuff you can send. So here are some examples of things we use to send email. So a lot of emails are free and owned by large companies. So some examples here I have listed for us are Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, Apple. I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of. I myself have multiple emails. I think I have my UTSA one from a college I went to, another one from a community college, so that's 3. I have a junk email, I have a professional email, and I have my work email. So there's at least 6 emails there that I know about. So if you're wondering how many email accounts you can have, the number is really infinite. So like I say here, I have 6. You can have as many as you want or need. A lot of people like to separate them. So what I use for a junk email is if I decide to sign up for a business's coupons or newsletters. Maybe I don't want that going to my email that I use when I send out professional emails. So I don't want that coming to my work email. But I also don't want it going to the email I use to attach my bills to, or attach my adult communications to. So anything like that's official. If I have to email, let's say if I have to talk to my bank, I don't want them to email the junk email. I want it to go to the important email. So you can have lots of different accounts for that. So we're going to switch over to going over to the parts of the email, and I'm actually going to switch between this PowerPoint and my actual email. You can see here this is a default template of what a message looks like for me using my work email. We're actually going to be using school. If anything pops in, it won't be anything you can't see, so it's the most secure of them. So let's go ahead and escape here. And I'm going to move over here, and I use Gmail, so I have a few different accounts that are hosted by Google Gmail's software. And you can see here's all the messages that I've saved for whatever reason. Normally I save them if I have to do something. But we're going to come over here and click this Compose button. And this one's blank because I haven't set up a signature or anything like that. I don't really feel the need to for school, because the only thing I use this for is emailing my professors, and it takes me no time at all to type out my name. So here you can see it says new message. We haven't named it yet. And this field right here, this is our to field, and I can click this to select contacts. Now I don't have anyone saved, but if I started typing in a name, so I typed in a J, I have professors, I have my other emails I've sent stuff to. Sometimes you can just email yourself, so there's lots of things that you can do here. Lots of ways to find people, or you can just type it out. So that's where I would put someone I wanted to talk to directly, and I can have as many emails in there as I want. There's two other categories or labels you can do when you're sending a message. So over here you can see CC and BCC. So this is, CC stands for carbon copy, and it's a holdover term from a long time ago when you could make copies of paper by having 3 different types of paper on top of each other, and what you wrote on the top copy filtered through to the bottom. So it's still used in some places, but it's not very common. But carbon copy is a holdover from that. So what this means is that you can put anyone here, and they'll also get the message, and maybe that's more of like a, hey, I want to loop you into this, but I don't require an action from you. So maybe I'm emailing my coworker, Sue, and I'm saying, hey, can you get me that activity sheet edited by Wednesday? And I'm looping in Aaron to let them know this is getting done, because maybe they wanted to know what was going on with that. So that's what you might do for that. So everyone is involved, sees the conversation, and is aware of who can see it. And they can all reply to it. The BCC here, this stands for blind carbon copy, and any emails that you put here will not be visible to anyone else getting the message. So a lot of times we'll use this if we're emailing parents, and we're sending the same email out, and it's just a general update email for, let's say, Bits and Bytes like this. So if we're sending that general email out and we're trying to go, oh, hey, here's this activity sheet that your kid might need for today. If we have to do that manually, we'll probably put all the addresses in the blind carbon copy field, because that means that you won't, the adults won't be able to see each other's email, and that just makes it a little safer. Everyone can reply, and if they reply all, then everyone's going to see that. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But what this does is it ensures that if somebody isn't comfortable with their email being shared to, I don't know, 10 other strangers, then that's not going to happen unless they reply and reply all. If they reply directly to us, it's still a one-to-one communication. So that's why you might use a blind carbon copy. Another reason is maybe you don't want people up here to know that you're looping in someone down here. And there's reasons for that, both good and bad. So underneath are send fields. So these are called recipient fields or to sender fields, whatever. You'll hear different variations. But underneath that, you have a subject. Excuse me. Underneath that, you have the subject line. And this is a very important line. You can see these are all my subject lines here. So this top one tells me which class it's for and what it's about. So that's a message that was actually sent from a different software called Blackboard, but they gave it that message so I would know. And then I can see the start of my message here. And you can see that all the way down. So what these things tell me is, hey, we have something really important. So they might use all caps, and then some emojis are supported in the subject lines. Or it might just be, okay, we did what you asked us to do, and it might not seem super important, but you can see it all generally is what this is called is title caps. So the important words, verbs, nouns are capitalized and lowercase, and unimportant words are generally lowercase, but it's not consistent. What is important here is that it's short and easy for the viewer to get. So if you were emailing me, maybe you would say Bits and Bytes question, or question about emailing etiquette. Yeah. So you would make it relevant to what the message of your email is going to be. It needs to be kind of a short summary of whatever message you're sending to me is, so that I know what it's about, and I can start getting in the headspace that I might be able to respond and think of things of what's going on. It doesn't take me completely out of the blue, but also so that I actually read it. If you send me an email and it says hi in the subject, for all I know that's spam, and I probably won't read it. And if you send an email with no subject, it's not going to get read. Most filters are going to catch that. They're going to think it's spam, and your receiver is not going to see it. They also probably won't read it because it comes across as a little unsafe. So it's important to have a subject, and let's check to make sure. Yep, purpose of the email. I'm just checking my notes. All right, so here, this is called the body, and this is where you'll type your message. So you might put, let's see, so in a lot of formal letters, you might see dear. For the most part, standard casual greetings are allowed now. So you could say hello, you could say good morning. Thankfully, Google has typos, so you could do something like that, or good afternoon, depending on when you're sending it. You want to be respectful, and this will vary on who you email. You want to be respectful, but not overly formal at the same time, because it makes your emails way too long and people don't have that much time to read them, so they're scanning. So you might put something, if you're emailing me, hello, Miss Jen. I had a question about blah, 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 blah. So if you were going to email me for whatever reason, or your parents were, they might say something like this, or your parents might address me as Miss Bailey because that is my last name, and they might feel more comfortable doing that. I typically go by Miss Jen. It's fine. So you would have your message, and then you would sign it off. And there's lots of ways you can sign off. You can do thanks, and then your name, or best, and then your name. There's lots of things. Most of your emails will come up with that. But you would put all your message in there. And then, actually, let's undo that. Let's leave the text there. So that's our basic stuff, right? That's every email has that. Gmail and other emails have some extra things you can do too. So if you come down here next to my send button, we have this formatting options, which is this menu that's currently up. So it kind of is like a mini word processor itself. So we have the undo, redo. I can change the font type. So it defaults to just the sans serif, which is fonts without any of the fancy stuff on it. But I could change it to, I could try to change it to Garamond. It also depends on what's supported by your computer, what you see. I normally don't see these change. So I don't think when you're typing you actually see the text change, but you can change it. You can change the size, and it's pretty general terms, but you have small, normal, large, huge. Normal is normally the safest bet to send it in. This is mean to do to most adults. This is obnoxious. So normal is a good place to send it in unless you know the person very well and they'd be okay with a different size. Then you have your bold, italic, underline. If you click on this, you can change the color of your text. So you can change the text color and the background color. So I could make it highlighted in yellow, and I could change it to purple. Again, you typically will not do this kind of stuff in an email. It's considered obnoxious and distracting for the most part. The exceptions are maybe you're emailing family and friends, or you have a really good reason for highlighting something, like we really want you to download this activity sheet and print it out before you come to the lesson. Maybe that's why we would highlight something. But as you know, most of our lessons, we don't have that stipulation. And then you can align your text here, so it can be left aligned by default, centered, or right aligned. Typically you're going to do left aligned. There's not a ton of formatting you put in an email unless you're a marketer, and then there's special stuff that goes on in that. You can do numbered list or bulleted list, which I do when I have a list of things to send people. So it's like I don't want to do a full paragraph for each one. I want to keep it short. That's one way to do it. And then there's some other stuff that you guys can do here with formatting. Most of it you won't use. One thing you will use down here is this attach files option. So what this does is it allows you to attach a file or a zipped folder or anything from your computer to the email. And there's a reason you want to go with the attach option instead of maybe link from your drive. And that is because this sends a copy. So let's see, I'm going to send this photo that I downloaded for Halloween. So I'm attaching that photo. It's attached, it's loaded. In a second, it's going to show up link. So if I click on that, it will take me to, it actually downloaded the photo. So I don't need to look at that. So there's a reason we do that, and I can keep attaching files. There is a size limit about how much can be sent, but that 41 kilobytes, very, very small. I can keep attaching more files. The reason we want to do an attached file instead of a link from Drive is because our Google Drives have special share settings on them, and depending on if it's personal or for work or for school, there's different settings that maybe you can't override. So a lot of our students use Google Classrooms or they have their own Google account set up through the school. You guys cannot overwrite the share settings that for your emails. So if you share something with me and it's stored in your Google Drive, I can't see it because I don't have a Google account that was created by your school. So your stuff can only be shared with people within your domain. So there's a domain that your school is under with Gmail. That's what you guys can only share things to each other. And there's a chance that you can't even get emails from me because of some of those restrictions. So that was actually, sorry, I was pointing, that was inserted link. That was this one right here that says insert files using Drive. If you're ever trying to share files with someone outside of your organization and they have to have it, you should not use that. You should make a copy of the file and download it to your computer. And then, so if I went there, what do I have? I have some silly stuff here from classes, nothing major. But if I wanted to send this photo, I could insert it. But that might not go to everyone. So what would be smarter is for me to go into my Drive and download that. So I can right click and I can tell it to download. And then I can upload it from my downloads folder. So that makes sure that whoever I send it to, I've decided I want them to have it. They can actually open it and look at it. Otherwise, you will get emails coming back saying, hey, you didn't actually share that with me. The permissions are still locked, and you have to try and go figure it out. So if you're sharing with someone outside of your domain, make sure that you actually attach the file. And if there's still share settings there, make sure they actually have the permissions and should be looking at that. Right next to attach is the link. So I could highlight some text and insert a link to, let's say, Youth Code Jam. So we could just highlight. So typically you would, sorry, let's cancel this. Go to Youth Code Jam for more information. So typically you would highlight this because this is where we're telling you to go. It's relevant to the link. So you want to use a keyword that makes sense for the link and insert that there. So this will allow you to send a nicely formatted email without having a link that looks like this in there. So there's really nothing wrong with that. Most people aren't put off. This can be caught sometimes if your email isn't recognized by your recipient as possible spam because it's a link in the email, but normally you'll be okay doing that. Next to that, you can insert some emojis. They look a little different than what they might on your phone and stuff, but same principle. Like I said, you can insert from the Drive. It's not something I recommend doing unless you're only sharing with people within your school system. You can insert a photo, so that means it's just like inserting. And you can do it inline, which means it appears in the message, or you can do it as an attachment, which is what we did earlier. So I can come here and do that crazy pumpkin photo. And that inserts it into the actual email itself instead of being an attachment. I don't really think we need to worry about any of that. So right now I have this showing up in the corner of my screen. Most emails will default to where your new message takes up the full screen. And there's other things you can do here. Always check your spelling. If you're not sure you want to send yet, you can always schedule it to send or leave it saved in your draft. So every time you create a new email, it's automatically in your draft folder. So this is a garbage email. I don't want to send it, but I do want to make sure that we've covered everything. So we talked about that. And we talked about all of this fun stuff. Okay, so that's all we're going to do with looking at my email today. So I'm going to come over here and delete this. because that's a garbage email and we don't need it. And then head back over here to our PowerPoint. So we learned about how to use an email and you saw a couple examples. So let's talk a little bit about these actual examples I typed out for us. There's a certain way to talk to different people. So there's a way that you might talk to your friends, which is really informal and uses shortened words and maybe some slang, maybe some nicknames. It's your friend and you don't have to have like a fully thought out thing. But if you're emailing your teachers or your boss or somebody that you don't know, you want to have a more formal tone to your email. So in email A, we have them using a silly email address, so disneyfan1@gmail.com. They kind of bypassed the subject line. I mean, it's excited. Clearly, exclamation points mean you're excited or it's something big, but you still don't really know what the email's about. And then in here, it's all one line. We use numbers in place of letters to shorten our message, and then they just sign it with their name. That is perfectly fine to send to your friend that you've known for a really long time or have hung out with. That's great. Most of you would probably send this by text instead of sending an email by now, but for our example, we're going to say you sent an email. That's fine. You do not have to even like put a name in there. If you're emailing a teacher or somebody else that you don't really know, you need to be a lot more professional about it. So we're going to have a more formal email. So I know this is the to field, but let's pretend that it's the email you're sending it from. So you're going to send it to their professional email and you're going to use a more professional email address. You don't want to send something from disneyfan1@gmail.com to your teacher. You want to probably keep that communication in your school email account. You definitely don't want to send in job applications using this kind of an email. Your email should have some version of your name in there and be very professional. Unfortunately, that kind of means boring. But anyway, so you're going to send it to a professional email. You're going to have a subject line that makes sense for the message. So this is saying that a student missed our Monday lesson. And this is the message they sent. Hello, Miss Kaylee. That's my co-instructor. She wanted to let us know that she wasn't going to be in class because her family's going on vacation. She will be back on October 12th. Awesome. She doesn't need anything from us. She just wanted to let us know she was going to miss something. She could have said, how can I do the activity? Or something like that as well. So there's no, there's lots of things that could have happened here, but you can see that there's different ways to write your email based on who is receiving it. When I email my professors, I tend to use very formal language. When I apply for jobs, I use formal language. When I'm working in my job, my coworkers and we use very shortened emails because we're doing a lot of stuff. So we might send something that's a one-sentence email that says, hey, can you do this? And that's okay because that's accepted by the culture within the workplace. And these are just things you learn as you get older and you experience them. So that lecture was a little longer. I don't have anything else for you since you're online. We're not going to have you do the actual activity. This was just more of an information session. If you have your email, you can try practicing with the different things you can send. Maybe send practice emails to your parents or to friends that are okay with it. But otherwise, that's all we have for you today. I hope to see you guys at the next lesson. We're going to have a little competition if you come to the online one. If you're not able to make it, our videos will be live under our Jam at Home tab, under Bits and Bytes Online. They'll be live at 5:30 after the lesson. But if you are interested in coming, our meetings are at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, Monday and Wednesday afternoons, and they're free to sign up for. So we hope to see you at some of the live sessions in the future. Have a great day.